150 people watched in horror as a dog lunged at the groom, at the altar. The bride screamed. Guests pulled out their phones. The ceremony shattered. And then, he collapsed. What this dog knew in that moment would save a man's life. But the secret he revealed, that would break a woman's heart forever. This is the true story of Max. And the wedding that never was. To understand what happened that day, you need to know about Sarah. And about the dog who loved her more than life itself. 3 years ago, Sarah walked into an animal shelter with a broken heart. She wasn't looking for a dog. She was looking for a reason to heal. And there, in the corner of a cold concrete kennel, she found him. Max. A golden retriever with soulful brown eyes that seemed to say, "I've been waiting for you." Their eyes met. And in that instant, everything changed. Sarah took Max home that day. And he became more than a pet. He became her shadow. Her comfort. Her constant companion through the darkest nights and the brightest mornings. They jogged together at sunrise. The world still quiet, just the two of them and the rhythm of their breathing. They spent movie nights on the couch, Max's head in her lap, popcorn shared between friends who didn't need words. They hiked mountain trails, chased waves on empty beaches, and built a life together. But Max wasn't just any dog. Sarah had him trained as a medical alert dog. Dogs who can sense what humans cannot. Dogs who can detect a seizure before it happens. A blood sugar drop. A heart attack, minutes before the first symptom appears. Max learned to read the invisible language of the human body. And he became extraordinary at it. Little did Sarah know, he would soon need every ounce of that training. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Sarah met James. A coffee shop. A spilled latte. An apologetic smile. "Let me buy you another one," he said. And just like that, her world turned upside down. James was everything she dreamed of. Charming. Successful. Attentive in ways that made her feel like the only woman in the world. He brought her flowers for no reason. Planned elaborate dates. Listened when she spoke. Within weeks, her friends were saying it. "Sarah, he's perfect." And she believed them. 6 months later, James took her to the beach at sunset. The sky painted in shades of pink and gold. He got down on one knee. "Marry me," he said. And through tears of joy, she said yes. There was just one problem. Max didn't trust him. It started small. Little things Sarah tried to ignore. Whenever James came over, Max would position himself between them. His body tense. Protective. When James offered him treats, Max would turn his head away, his eyes wary. When James raised his voice, even slightly, Max would whimper and retreat. "He's just jealous," Sarah told herself, kneeling down to stroke Max's worried face. "He'll get used to you, I promise." But Max's eyes said something different. They said, "Please, listen to me. Something is wrong." Sarah didn't listen. She planned the wedding. She chose the dress, sent the invitations, tasted the cake. And with every passing day, Max grew more anxious. Here's what most people don't understand about dogs. They don't just see us. They sense us. A dog's nose contains 300 million scent receptors. Humans have 6 million. They can smell fear, anxiety, illness. They can detect a single drop of blood in 5 quarts of water. They can sense when your cortisol spikes, when your heart rate becomes irregular, when your body chemistry changes in ways invisible to every medical device. Medical alert dogs like Max, they're trained to recognize these changes, to alert before disaster strikes. But sometimes, they sense more than medicine. Sometimes, they sense intention, deception, danger. And Max? He'd been sensing something in James for months. Something in the way his body chemistry spiked with stress hormones when he thought no one was watching. Something in his irregular heartbeat. The subtle scent of illness he was hiding. Something wrong. But there was more Max couldn't articulate. Something darker beneath the surface. And as the wedding day approached, that something became urgent. And if you're still watching, it means you understand something most people miss, that animals don't just react to what we show them. They respond to what we're hiding. If stories like this speak to you, if you believe in the unbreakable bond between humans and animals, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to the Pawnicle, because we're building a community of people who see beyond the surface, who trust instinct over appearances, and who know that sometimes the truth comes with 4 paws and a heartbeat that never lies. Now, let's return to the morning everything changed. The morning of Sarah's wedding dawned clear and beautiful. The bridal suite was filled with laughter, champagne, and the rustle of silk. Sarah stood before the mirror in her wedding dress, radiant, glowing. "You look perfect," her maid of honor whispered. And for a moment, everything was. But in the corner of the room, Max sat perfectly still, wearing a little black bow tie. His tail didn't wag. His ears were alert, swiveling toward sounds only he could hear. Something was wrong. He could feel it. Sarah knelt down beside him, her dress pooling around her like clouds. "It's okay, boy," she whispered, cupping his face. "Everything's going to be perfect. I promise." Max licked her cheek. But his eyes were filled with worry. The church was packed. 150 guests. Flowers lining every pew. Sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, painting everything in colored light. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle. And then, it was time. The doors opened. Sarah appeared, her father on one arm, Max walking beside her on the other. The guests stood, smiling. At the altar, James waited. Handsome in his tuxedo. But his forehead glistened with sweat. His hands trembled. Sarah walked toward him, her heart full of hope. She was steps away from forever. But Max had stopped breathing normally. His nostrils flared. His muscles coiled. Every sense screaming, "Danger! Danger! Danger!" It happened in an instant. One moment, Sarah was reaching the altar. The next, Max broke free. He lunged. Not with aggression. With desperation. His paws hit James's chest, once, twice, 3 times, pawing frantically at the exact spot over his heart. "Max, no!" Sarah screamed, grabbing for his collar. Guests jumped to their feet. Children cried. Phones came out. "Get this damn dog away from me." James shouted, his face red, veins bulging. He shoved at Max with both hands. But Max wouldn't stop. He couldn't. Because in that moment, he sensed it. James's heart was failing. And then, James staggered backward. His face drained of color, from red to white in seconds. Both hands clutched his chest. I can't breathe." He collapsed. Right there. At the altar. The flowers scattered. Candles tipped. Complete chaos. Sarah dropped to her knees beside him, her wedding dress spreading across the marble floor. "James! James!" Someone screamed, "Call 911. And Max? Max sat down calmly beside James. Watching. Waiting. His job was done. The paramedics arrived within minutes. Red lights flashing through the stained glass. They worked fast. Oxygen mask. Monitors. Urgency. Possible cardiac event. "We need to move now." They loaded James onto a gurney. And as Sarah climbed into the ambulance, her white dress stained with tears, she looked back. At Max. Standing in the doorway of the church. And for the first time, she understood. He'd been trying to tell her all along. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and fear. Sarah sat in a plastic chair, still in her wedding dress, waiting. Hours passed like days. Finally, a doctor emerged. His face was grave. "Mrs. Dot, I'm sorry, miss. I need you to come with me." He led her to a small room. Pulled up an X-ray on a light box. "Your fiancé has a 95% blockage in his left anterior descending artery." Sarah stared at the image. At the dark mass choking his heart. "We call it the widowmaker," the doctor continued softly. "If this had happened an hour later, during your reception, when everyone was celebrating." He paused. He wouldn't have survived. Sarah's hands began to shake. "Your dog," the doctor said, a note of wonder in his voice. "Your dog saved his life." 3 days later, Sarah returned to the hospital. James was awake. Recovering. She brought flowers. Relief in her heart. He was alive. Max had saved him. Everything would be okay. But when she entered his room, James couldn't look at her. "Sarah," he whispered, "I need to tell you something." She sat down slowly, sensing the weight in his voice. "I knew," he said. "Knew what?" "About my heart. I'd been having chest pains for months. A doctor warned me. Told me I needed treatment." Sarah's face paled. "But why didn't you?" "Because I had no insurance. No money. Massive debt." Tears began streaming down James's face. "And then, I met you. I pursued you, because you had good insurance. Financial stability. I thought, if I married you, I could get on your plan. Get the surgery I needed." The room spun. "You used me." James looked away, shame written across every feature. "I never loved you, Sarah. I'm so sorry. You deserved better. You deserved the truth. You deserved everything I couldn't give you." The flowers slipped from Sarah's hands. Petals scattered across the floor like fallen dreams. Her engagement ring caught the harsh hospital light. And something inside her shattered. But then, something else rose up. Strength. "Goodbye, James," she whispered. And she walked out. She didn't run. Didn't look back. Just walked, toward the light of the corridor. Toward freedom. James called after her. She didn't turn around. The wedding was over. But her life was just beginning. The weeks that followed were hard. Sarah cried. She grieved. She questioned everything. But through it all, Max never left her side. He rested his head in her lap during therapy sessions. He curled up beside her when she couldn't sleep. He reminded her with every gentle nuzzle that love, real love, doesn't deceive. Slowly, the days grew lighter. Her friends surrounded her. Her family held her up. The seasons changed. Autumn leaves fell, winter snow melted, spring flowers bloomed. And Sarah began to heal. 6 months later, she took Max to the vet for a routine checkup. It was at a cardiology clinic. And there, she met Dr. Michael Chun. He was kind, genuine. And when he knelt down to examine Max, his eyes lit up. "Your dog is remarkable," Dr. Chun said, looking up at Sarah. "I consulted on your ex-fiancé's case. What Max did. I've never seen anything like it." They talked. About Max. About medicine. About intuition and trust. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into walks in the park. And this time, Max's tail never stopped wagging. Dr. Chun wasn't using her. He saw her. Truly saw her. And Sarah? She learned to trust again. Not just him, but herself. 1 year after the wedding that never was, Max became a certified therapy dog. He now visits hospitals, nursing homes, and crisis centers. He's alerted to 3 more cardiac emergencies. Saved 3 more lives. Sarah started a foundation, training medical alert dogs to help others, turning her pain into purpose, her heartbreak into hope. And she and Dr. Chen? They're building something beautiful, something real. On a sunny afternoon in the park, Sarah sits on a bench. Max beside her, gray now around his muzzle. Wise. Content. Dr. Chen on her other side, his hand in hers. People ask me if I regret that day, Sarah says softly, stroking Max's head. The day my wedding fell apart in front of everyone I loved. She looks down at Max, her eyes shining. How could I? Max didn't ruin my wedding. He saved my life. Not just from a man who didn't love me, but from a life built on lies. He showed me that love isn't about pretty words or grand gestures. It's about truth, loyalty, seeing beneath the surface. And sometimes, she smiles through tears. Sometimes our animals see that truth more clearly than we ever could. Max looks up at her, his brown eyes full of love. And in that moment, everything makes sense. The pain, the betrayal, the breaking. It all led here. To this bench. This moment. This truth. So if your dog doesn't trust someone, listen. If your cat hides when someone visits, pay attention. If your animal, who loves unconditionally, suddenly acts differently around someone, trust them. Because animals don't lie. They don't manipulate. They don't have hidden agendas. They simply know. And if Max's story touched something in you, if it reminded you why we trust our animals even when the world tells us we're being foolish, then I want you to do something. Hit that like button as a promise. A promise that you'll listen the next time your pet tries to tell you something. Subscribe to the Pawnicle, because every story we share is a reminder that loyalty doesn't speak in words, it speaks in action. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, someone's dog is trying to save them, and they're not listening yet. Stories like Max's don't just entertain us. They teach us. They remind us that sometimes, the greatest love doesn't speak, it simply acts. And sometimes, that knowing can save your life.